The message came just after noon. I was still at my office desk, finishing paperwork while the street below filled slowly with Thanksgiving traffic. People moved in clusters toward the restaurants that stayed open on holidays. Coats zipped up, hands in pockets, that quiet anticipation people carry when they know a warm meal is waiting somewhere. My phone buzzed once. The text was from my mother. "Thanksgiving is family only this year. Find somewhere else to eat." I read it twice. Not because the words were confusing, they were direct enough. But something about the phrasing felt strangely casual, like she was informing me about a change in weather. Family only. I sat back in my chair and looked at the screen a little longer. For a few minutes I considered replying, asking what she meant, pointing out the obvious contradiction. But the longer I stared at the message, the more familiar the feeling behind it became. It wasn't the first time something like this had happened. There had been birthdays where the invitation came after plans were already finalized. Holiday dinners where my presence seemed to complicate the seating arrangement. Conversations where decisions had been made before I was even aware there was something to decide. None of those moments had ever been dramatic enough to confront directly. They just accumulated. I placed the phone face down on my desk and went back to work. Outside my office window, the street ran directly toward Bella's restaurant at the corner. It was one of the few places in town that opened for Thanksgiving dinner, which meant reservations were usually made weeks in advance. I knew that because 3 weeks earlier I had made one. Under my last name. For 6 people. It had been a habit more than anything else. For the past few years, Thanksgiving had shifted away from cooking at home. Bella's was neutral territory. No one had to host, no one had to clean. Everyone just showed up. I hadn't thought much about it when I booked the table. But now the reservation sat there quietly in the system, waiting for a group that had apparently decided I wasn't part of it. Around 4 in the afternoon, I stood up to stretch and glanced out the window again. That's when I saw them, my parents, my sister, my brother and his wife. They walked together down the sidewalk toward Bella's entrance, moving with the relaxed pace people have when they believe the evening has already been arranged for them. For a moment I just watched. No anger came up, just a strange calm. It struck me that they probably assumed the reservation still existed, because I had always handled small things like that. Restaurants, tickets, logistics, quiet responsibilities no one thought much about. My phone sat on the desk beside me. I picked it up and dialed the restaurant. Bella's answered on the second ring. "Bella's restaurant, this is Marco." "Hi Marco," I said. "I have a reservation under Thompson for 6 people tonight." He paused briefly while checking. "Yes, I see it. 6 guests at 5 o'clock. I need to cancel that reservation." Another pause. "Of course," he said. "Would you like to reschedule for another day?" "No," I said, "just cancel it." "All right, I'll take care of that." "Thank you." The call ended. Outside, my family had already stepped inside the restaurant. I returned to my desk and continued answering emails. 20 minutes later my phone rang. My mother's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring once more before answering. "Hello." Her voice arrived sharp and confused. "Why won't they seat us?" I turned slightly in my chair and looked toward Bella's front door again. Through the window, I could see people standing near the host station. "They said our reservation doesn't exist," she continued. "Did you change something?" "Yes," I said. There was a small silence. "You canceled it?" she asked. "I did." The pause on the other end stretched longer this time. "But why would you do that?" I leaned back in my chair and folded one arm across my desk. "Because you told me to find somewhere else to eat." She didn't answer immediately. In the background I could hear muffled voices, my father saying something to the host, my sister asking questions. "Well, that's not what I meant," my mother said finally. The explanation came slowly after that. Something about space. About family conversations that had already been planned. about how the message wasn't meant to upset me. I listened without interrupting. Through the window, I watched another group arrive at Bella's. They checked in with the host and were led inside almost immediately. Holiday reservations moved quickly. "Your father is getting frustrated," she added quietly. "I understand. You could call them back," she said. "Tell them it was a mistake." I considered that for a moment. For most of my life, I probably would have done exactly that. Not because I wanted to, but because fixing the situation would have felt easier than letting it remain uncomfortable. Instead, I looked out at the street again. People walking past with grocery bags. A couple laughing as they hurried toward the restaurant entrance. Someone holding a pie box carefully with both hands. Normal things. "I'm not going to call them," I said. Another silence followed. "What are we supposed to do now?" she asked. It wasn't an angry question. More like genuine confusion. For the first time, the answer wasn't mine to provide. "I don't know," I said. We stayed on the line for a few seconds longer before the call ended. I shut down my computer and grabbed my coat. The street outside was colder now, the sky already fading into evening. Bella's windows glowed warmly at the corner. I walked in the opposite direction. There were other places to eat. And for the first time in a long while, the decision about where I would spend Thanksgiving felt entirely my own.